Welcome to Like Mother,
Like Daughter.
We are so excited that you have taken out a little bit of your Mother's Day to share with us. Listen, we want to say to all mothers, grandmothers, godmothers, other mothers, and future mothers, happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day to all of you. I am the granddaughter of Lily Mae Woods and Lenora Foster. I am the daughter of Gertrude Foster. I am Pastor Annette Jones.
I am the granddaughter of Adelaide Jones and Gertrude Foster. I am the daughter of Pastor Annette Jones, and I am Reverend Melanie. We are so excited. This is our first time going live ever. Actually, my first time going live on any of my platforms. So I'm super excited just to share this time with all of you. If you can do us a favor, just so we can make sure that everyone knows that we're live on and popping, please go ahead and share this recording with everyone. Share it, like it, put smiley faces, tell us how you feel, tell us how you're enjoying it. We're so excited to be here with you. So listen, I've been in the house, sheltering in place, quarantining for 8 weeks.
A long 8 weeks.
And as soon as I got the news that we were sheltering in place and that school was shut down and that everyone needed to be in the house, I decided immediately that I would hop on the next flight out to Chicago so that I could spend this time with my mother. So we have literally been quarantining together for 8 weeks. And so in our conversations, we thought, why don't we share our table talks with all of you so that you can enjoy, experience all the things that we've been catching up on for the last 8 weeks.
Yes.
So let's get into it.
Yes.
Mother's Day. We know this is an exciting time, but it's also a difficult time for some folks. And everyone always asks us, what about your bond, your motherly bond? How did it happen? How did you become mother-daughter besties? What did it take? All of these questions. And often we let them know very clear and upfront that our journey was with some conflict, that we both had push and pull.
Absolutely. Early on, perhaps at the age of 10, I remember Melanie coming into my room and saying to me, "You're no longer going to be able to control me. I am now a decade-year old." And that was astonishing to me. Not only that she had enough nerve to come and tell me that, but also to understand that her vocabulary and her value and what she felt about her own worth was important enough to declare, I am a decade-year-old and I can no longer be under these harsh treatments. At least I think she thought it was harsh during that time.
So I remember that time, and I remember that I had made a kind of decision that I was going to run away. And I walked down the street to the end of the block. This was on in our house in Matson. And I walked down to the end of the block. And my mom told me, if you gonna run away, then leave everything that I ever gave you. So leave that book bag, leave them clothes, leave everything that you have, because you can't run away with nothing on your own. And then I think I repositioned and took another route. What about you, Mom? What were some times when you were like, we're in conflict?
Well, probably when she was around 14, 15, 16, all 3 of those years, those teenage years, we were in conflict. Again, most teenagers, your parents can do no good. And in our mind, our child can do no good. And so we had a lot of tension during those years. However, we were able to muster through it. Like most teenagers, there is a time when you don't want to talk to your parents, when you don't want to be around your parents, when you don't even want to be in the same company with your parents. You don't even want anybody to talk about your parents. And so because of that, then Melanie was going through those teenage years. However, I loved her unconditionally anyway.
all of my war stories with mom come around that age, right when I was about to go to college. So it was right about like 17, 18 when a normal child or a young girl starts to feel herself, don't need mama to make all her decisions. So I remember this one particular moment when this was actually going off to college. And so we shipped all my things, got on a plane, went to Howard. Hey, Howard, HU, you know where all my Howard folks in the building, like, let us know you're out there. So I was at Howard. I was in my dorm room. And the first night, some of my things were shipped. Some of them weren't. So my mom was like, well, you're going to have to come back to the hotel with me. And I was being a little bit of a brat and
Absolutely
did not want to go back to the hotel with mom. But the blessing of it is the next day when we came back, I had some running around to do for all the freshman orientation, wonderful things. And when I came back to my room, my mom had completely set up my entire room from top to bottom, had everything outlined, labeled, all my stuff was in place. I literally did nothing to put my room together.
Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. It was such a trying time for both of us that the tensions were so high. I was sick of her. And she probably was more than sick of me. And I was okay with that because I didn't have to talk to Melanie. I didn't even have to see her. In fact, I remember during that time, I didn't even call her. We had just dropped her off, finished everything, left her at Howard, and I didn't call her for a month. It was a month later that she finally called and said, Mom, I haven't heard from you and Dad. Why haven't you called me? Everyone else is listening, is speaking to their mother, their father. They call them weekly. And I said, are you good? And she said, I am. And I said, and I'm good. And so we're good. And I was done with her. I was done with her. And she talks about her being a brat during that time. No, she was a spoiled brat. And I didn't think that I had ever spoiled my daughter. I didn't think so. But as I reflect now on what took place during that time, she was a spoiled brat. And not only that, after such a great trunk party, she got so many wonderful gifts. Family, friends, church members, people from all kinds came and brought her such wonderful gifts. When we got to Howard, after we shipped everything, when we got to Howard, we still spent another $1,000 plus on other things that Melanie thought she needed, which I didn't believe she did.
So the version of this story sounds differently from my
end. It's exactly how I spoke it.
I remember that you said I called you, but I believe about that 4-week mark that it was you who called me. I think the story got kind of twisted around.
No, it didn't get twisted. No, that's the story, and that's the truth because I was done. I was truly done with this young lady. She had really worked my nerve. But I'm happy about her experience and the time that we had together because it gave us an opportunity to not only have the distance from one another, but to learn how to become us. I had to learn how to become me without Melanie, without having a child that I had to invest in, that I had to go to games in. I had to go to cheerleading games. I had to go to speech conferences. I had to go to any kind of event. She was the one who threw up the color guards, right? And so I went to every game. And I think that's something that a mother does or a parent does, is try to be there to support even when your child does not like you.
So it wasn't that I didn't like you, but I think the older you become, the more you realize how much you need your mom. And what I love about my mom is that not only is she always there, but I can pick up the phone morning, noon, midnight, in the afternoon, any time of the day, and know my mom will always be there. You know, we've been talking about Mother's Day traditions, and we are Baptist church women, old school style. Every Mother's Day, our tradition is we wear flowers. So you can see that our corsage, the red flower, is for a living mother. And it represents my mom.
And the white flower is for a mother that has passed away, gone, but not forgotten.
Absolutely. So tell us your Mother's Day traditions in the comment box. So let's get into it. This time of discussion and table talk is all about faith, about fashion, about family, and really a dig into not only our lives, but literally we are in our living room. So we are giving you live living stories exactly from our living room. One of the things that we think about when it comes to Mother's Day is how does it feel, or what does it mean when you lose a mother? So of course my mother is alive, and I'm so grateful and thankful for that. But my grandmother transitioned about
2012.
2013.
2013.
So about
absolutely.
7 years ago, actually right around this time. I remember
Absolutely.
it was days away from Mother's Day, which made that year pretty difficult. I remember because it was my first year of PhD studies, and I had to shift around my finals in order to prepare for the homeborn service. How does it feel to lose a mother?
Well, that's a very difficult time in a person's life. Losing your mother, the person who has been with you throughout everything in your life. One of the things that my mom taught me early on, and she says that the favor of God has always been in your life. And I used to try to tell her, no, I've had trials, I've had tribulations, but over and over again, she would state, the favor of God is on your life. And that has stuck with me throughout. I'm grateful for the time that I did spend with my mom. We had weekly meetings where we met up at her house. We would meet up on Wednesday nights before we went to Bible study, and we would have, we called it our own traditional taco kind of bar that my mom put together. And then on Sunday, my mom was the best cook in the world. The best cook. and she would make meals for all of her family, all of her even adopted daughters, whether it was Carolyn Jones or Norma Ratliff, whether it was her adopted grandchildren like Tamika Thomaston and her adopted great-great-grandchildren like Carion and Kayla and Deja. Even co-pastor Elder Eason also attended some of these events. We had a joyous time in just being together with my mom during that time. And not once did she ever complain about cooking. Mm-hmm. It was her way of giving us the best that she could offer unto us. And I'm so glad that I had that time. And so I don't have any bad moments, even though I got spankings or whippings, if we want to call it that. And they were not good. Every one of them I remember. But it was the best that she had to offer me. And I shared a little bit about that this morning on our service. I shared that my mother was the best mom for me. I don't know about you, but she was the best mom for me. She kept me in line. I never went to jail. I never got arrested. I never was in the hospital. Nothing. She ensured that I was protected, that I was provided for, that I had everything that I needed. And because of that, I'm grateful. And I'm here today, more prosperous than I've ever been, more prosperous than she ever was. And she set that in me so that I could live a better life. And hopefully I've set the same practice in my daughter so that she can live better than me.
So one of the things I remember about my grandmother is actually my work is centered around my grandmother's narrative. But one of the things I fondly remember of my grandmother is it was amazing to me that no matter how much she cooked, whether it was a pan of macaroni and cheese with fried chicken and greens and candy yams and sweet tea that was actually sweet like sugar, like real sweet, like all of the good stuff, right? If she cooked the same amount every week, but it surprised me that same amount fed 5 or fed 30. And that is, I mean, just the meaning of what it means to have an abundance and a spirit of hospitality.
Yes.
One of the things when we talk about legacy, so I am exactly 25 years younger than my mom, and we always have conversations about our generational differences.
Yes.
So mom is a boomer, and I am a millennial. And you can kind of tell some of the differences between us because mom has been on her job for
37 long years.
37 long years. It was her first job coming out of college. She's an accountant, and she stayed with that job for 37 years. Now, I am not 37, but I'm younger than that. But I haven't been in the kind of professional game that long, but already I've had a number of jobs. So we know that there are differences between us. What other kind of differences do you notice between boomers and millennials?
One of the things for boomers is that we are loyal to the company, where millennials are loyal to people. And so if they connect to people, then they will stay connected to that thing. Where boomers are connected to the company, the vision, the mission, those things that have been instilled in us, the pride of that organization. And I think that's why most of us that are baby boomers stick with companies even when we can be compensated a whole lot more, even when we can make decisions and be leaders of our own companies. We will tend to stick to companies that treat us at least somewhat okay.
So the difference with millennials, while boomers are trying to build institutions, millennials are trying to shut institutions down. So we don't have the kind of institutional loyalty that some boomers have. In fact, we're telling institutions, if you really who you are, you say you ought to be, then actually show that in the world. If not, why are we even doing this? And so we want to change things, whereas boomers are trying to maintain things.
Yeah. I think one good way of seeing how baby boomers are operating in this environment, in the environment that we're in today, in this COVID-19 environment, baby boomers a lot of them are suffering or they're stuck because they didn't grow up in this electronic age, and it's wearing on them every day. When I talk to family and friends that are also baby boomers, they're frustrated. They have a time where they're almost just sick of technology, where millennials this is ever present. I mean, this is their power. This is their source. They use it as we use paper, they use technology. And so I think that difference is truly one that separates us from them. However, there are many of us like myself who loves technology. I might not know all the ins and outs, but I'm a fast learner. And not only that, but I want the technology in my life. I need it. I know I need it because we cannot move forward without it.
Yeah, I think, so millennials are digital natives, right? We were born with kind of technology, and we're also responsible for both the invention and the rise of social media in terms of the platforms. I remember, since we're on Facebook, when you needed to have a college email in order to even get on Facebook. So I remember it was like 2005 when I went to college, and I was so excited to get my Howard letter and to get my Howard email so that I could be on the faces of books. So look how far we've come these 15 years.
And I think millennials are making us advance further in terms of technology moving forward, especially in our churches, where many of our churches are now being led by baby boomers. And the millennials are the ones that we need. In fact, we need a group all over. We need the mature saints. We need the baby boomers. We need the millennials. We need the Gen Xers, the Gen Ys. We need everybody coming together, working together in order to move the ship. But there are some that it's really hard. It's really hard to move further if we don't have the millennials who help drive that machine forward.
So I think what works for us is the ability to collaborate. Like the fact that mom has a kind of technical eye on some things, and she has the wisdom of experience, and she can look at some of the things that I want to do and take those ideas and refine them and make them better. And I have the ingenuity, the innovation, the desire to push the boundaries, to take risks. And so when we come together, it's a perfect collaboration.
It's wonderful. We have a great bond, not necessarily a sisterly bond, but a mother and daughter bond that's really, really, really thick. It holds itself. And I think that because of how Melanie has grown up, and not only that, but that I've been able to see how my values have transferred to her and how now she's carrying the legacy. I think that's what makes this so great. In that you can see through your own experiences that you didn't want your child to go through some of those things. And so you tried to teach lessons along the way. And because of that, I can see her in her fullness now becoming this great woman, but seeing me behind the scenes and knowing that I was the one that helped nudge and helped push and helped encourage and was the cheerleader behind. And because of that, she is who she is today.
I think we often talk about generational curses, but we don't talk a lot about generational gifts and blessings, right? And that a part of the inheritance language that we miss is that there are some gifts, right, that your foremothers have taught you, some wisdom that they have departed in you that can carry your journey, carry you forward. So I actually want to talk about fashion now, because both of us are girls who love to shop. In fact, when I was younger, I remember
Melanie
my mom
was not a shopper. She would go and sit down in a seat. In fact, we had to look for her. Now, you know, it was a time when we were really careful about having children away and off by themselves. But I never had to worry, because at the end of the day or the end of the shopping spree, whatever it was, we knew where Melanie was. She was somewhere in a seat, reading a book or doing something on any kind of instruments, whether it was a Nintendo, remember those things that she carried with her. She was sitting there and she was steadfast, quiet, unmovable. In fact, one of the great things that I like, because of early on in our ministry work, my husband and I, we had to go to many banquets and we were involved in many things. And the people, when we would take Melanie with us, there was never any uproar. She would sit quietly in whatever seat was assigned. We would make sure that she had her meal while we were on a platform of some sort with other ministers or pastors. But Melanie stayed put. Never have I ever had to look for her, to find her, to figure out where she was. This was a great time. And this was a great child. She was a beautiful child. Now, I don't know what happened at 14, 15, and 16, but
why you gotta bring up my low moment?
I'm just saying. Everybody got to know them.
So shopping. Yes, I have a story about how, I hated shopping. Everybody who knows my mom knows she is the queen of errands. So shopping was a full day experience. But as I look back now, I see that most of our kind of adult bonding is actually around shopping. Perfect Saturday for us is
shopping.
Getting up, hopefully exercising, getting a good breakfast. But if we don't get a good breakfast, we head into the mall and we're going to shop literally till we drop, and then we're going to get some good dinner. So either way, we're going to get a good meal. We're going to get some nice outfits or some good shopping, and then we're going to have this kind of time together. I've thought, what are the top 5 things that you need in your closet? And for me, top 5. So number 1, every girl needs her LBD, the little black dress. The black dress that you can put a cute pump on and make it jazzy for after work, and that it still can put a blazer on top and make it perfect for your work day. Every girl needs an LBD. I have a few LBDs, but everybody needs at least one in their closet. What's one of your top?
My
things?
top is that blazer. That for me is that does it all. That blazer really hits every place right, especially the right fitted blazer to make sure that it fits your frame and your body, and it can conceal so many things, but it also enhances your structure and your form and your figure. And for me, a blazer, I don't think anybody at work has ever seen me without a blazer. I wear a blazer every day.
I definitely picked up on the blazer. That's one of mine as well. And it's definitely become a kind of professional, kind of handy go-to. You need a blazer in your car as well as a good pump, honeys. You need a good pump. Like, you need that in your closet. But also, for me, it is a leather jacket. Now, the black leather jacket, or if you want to jazz it up with cute colors, I have those as well. But the leather jacket takes me, nighttime when I want to go nighttime, put it on the leather jacket with just a white t-shirt and some snazzy little jeans and a little cute shoe, or even gym shoes if you want to dress it down. Everybody needs the leather jacket.
Well, I agree with that. But here's one of my favorite must-have is a fur coat.
Oh,
that's a must-have for me. And I'm sorry for those that have animal rights against it, but a nice black mink or a brown coat,
fox.
Brown fox. But a mink for me, black mink is what does it. It changes the landscape, the trajectory of how you walk and how you stand and who you are. You just can change the dynamics of a room with that coat.
So I'm not even going to ask Mama how many fur coats she
don't
has,
ask.
because obviously a fur coat is way above my price range, but I definitely agree that the fur coat is a game changer. It definitely changed. In that same sense, what I love about this kind of sense of a statement piece is and many people think for men, like the watch is the statement piece, but I've also been thinking for a woman, like a good watch, like a Movado or whatever, like whatever your fancy, Michael Kors, whatever, that gives you that bling, that gives you your pop, put it on with a round of bangles and bracelets. Everybody needs that good watch that changes that outfit and brings it up, even when you don't expect it.
So for me, one of my statement pieces is a nice leather or pleather item. Having a pair of leather pants,
Leather preferred.
or a leather top, or having a leather skirt, or even a leather dress. That somehow having that leather in your wardrobe can actually give you those extra pieces that you need, preferably if they're black, can give you those pieces that you need so that you can add to it, you can take away from it, you can dress it up, you can dress it down. It changes my world.
So I'm glad you said preferably black, because both of us are lovers of black and white. Like, you can find us in black and white, but it always needs a pop of color. And so I love black and white combinations with a little blast of something that gives the people some flavor. But I love black and white anytime, any day.
Yeah. And not only that, and I know I'm taking this from Melanie, but pearls.
Ooh!
Pearls are a necessity for a woman. They change every outfit to mean something different. From it just adds so much richness and value. And guess what? They don't even have to be expensive. I've got some that were given to me that were inexpensive. Some that I purchased that were inexpensive. Some pearl earrings, a pearl necklace, a pearl bracelet. In fact, I like sets. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm old school, so I like sets. I want all of the parts. I want necklace. I want earrings. I want a bracelet. I want it all going together. And so for me, not everybody likes that, but for me, those things help to define my outfit and help to give me that balance. And I like pearls of every color. It does not matter. It doesn't have to be white pearls. They can be off-white pearls. They can be pink pearls. They can be gold pearls. They can be purple pearls. It does not matter. Pearls are pearls.
So for me, and this is actually for both of us, I think this is where we both align. You need a good bag. Like leather but a good bag. Luxe, maybe, but a good bag. I mean, that bag that when you pull it out, I don't care what you have on, it turns heads. Every girl needs a good bag.
Absolutely. I'm in total agreement. And it does not matter what kind, it does not matter who the designer is. It's your statement, your go-to piece that can help change it. And so that black and white that Melanie talks about that we love so much, we can put on the right colored bag, a red bag, a yellow bag, an orange bag, and it will change the trajectory of that outfit.
I think we might be past 4, 5, 6. I don't know where we are. But because I am a voluptuous woman and mama's a small girl, but I got some other things going on. So because of that, I'm always aware that you need good support. Undergarments are a necessary part of your wardrobe. And I'm in the practice of, I only wear nude, like undergarments. Like I don't even do the colors because you don't want to have a white shirt and lime green underneath and all of that, right? So just you two over that. Like just get nudes. And when you want to do something special, then get a color. But just nudes preferably.
And for me, again, as a baby boomer, as I grew up, my mother wore stockings every day. And guess what? Anytime I wear a dress or I wear something that I really want to make sure that everything is lined up correctly, I'm a stocking girl. I wear stockings. And of late, I have shifted to primarily wearing mostly my own natural tone colored stockings. So whether it's brown, utopia, whatever the color is, for the most time, I'm wearing that nude one because it's not about the color anymore. It used to be I wanted white, I wanted black, I wanted sparkle, I wanted these kinds. But what it does for me, especially control top, what it does is it brings and keeps everything in line. And it does not matter how big or small you may be. I've been wearing hose, pantyhose, control top for a long time. And when I was smaller than I am today, and even at the size I am now, it's a must for me.
Last thing, shoes. So I'm a shoe girl, stacked up.
And so am I.
They everywhere, like, yeah. So shoes, right?
Shoes, boots.
But everything. You need your classic pump, right? I've already said that every girl needs a classic pump, a Cole Haan or whomever, right? That is leather, right? Yes. That can, like, leather means it's going to stretch with your foot. So over time, it'll get more and more comfortable, but it's perfect. And when I talk about shoes, what I tell everyone is that you need someone who repairs shoes, right? It's not always about getting the most fancy shoe, but it's about keeping your shoes over time, right? So that means new taps, new heels, getting the scuff marks off, whatever. Get you someone who can do your shoes for you.
And what's important here about shoes and where me and Melanie have our own conflicts here.
We both wear the same size.
We wear the same size. I don't know, mothers, about you, but if your child wears the same size as you do, you're going to find that your shoes are going to come up missing. They're not only that, but the way Melanie walks in her shoes and the way I walk in my shoes are totally different. I walk aligned. My shoes are straight. When Melanie gets in my shoes, they're stretched. I'm like, I know you've been in my shoes. And so it's important for us to make sure that when I go to buy shoes, we go together. Or I say to her, do you like this shoe? Because we can buy you a shoe. Because I don't want you in my shoes because I want to make sure I keep them. And here's the thing I really want to say about fashion is that I try to buy things that I can keep a long time. So usually they're classic pieces, things that I can wear over and over and over again, mix and match them with other things. And so my wardrobe does not have to turn over. I don't have to spend a lot of money buying things that are not of necessity or that I don't need. Everything that I buy, it aligns with something else. And so having something classic trying to build a more classic wardrobe for me works. Now there are others that like, you know, a lot of all kind of other things. And for me, I just have one or two pieces of those fad items, those things that are coming in. I only have one or two pieces of those things because sooner or later they're going to go away. And then where are you left with things that you can't wear? And so I try to stick to something more classic so that I can transition either way. I can put on some bell bottoms if they come back in style with that nice blazer that I have that's long lasting and long wearing.
Yeah, one of the things I remember about grandmother is that she was the kind of shopper that if you bought her a dress, you had to get the shoes, the jewelry, all in one day. Otherwise, she didn't want the outfit. Like, she could not do it over time. So that was another kind of thing I think I picked up. I'm able to see things over time, but I am like, let me get all the pieces up front before I shape it out. I'll hold that thing in the closet for I don't know how long until I get all the pieces that work well together.
So Melanie is talking about my mother, Gertrude, and one of the things that she liked was flowers. Not only did she like flowers, but she also loved the color red. And
we both look good in red.
We look good in red, but it's not our favorite color. And every time we would wear red, my mom would comment. She never commented. I don't care what color I wore, whether it was black, pink, brown, purple, yellow. She never commented. But the minute I wore red, and Melanie wore red, she made a comment. You look so beautiful. Wow, that outfit looks so nice on you every time. So what's important here is my mother loved flowers. She loved a lot of prints. I hate prints. I do not like them. I like clean. This is not a print. This is a clean, geometric, linear kind. Not all of that busyness. Those flowers are too busy. And so I'm very traditional in that I like solids. I like if an item has more than 2 or 3 colors in it, I don't want it. And so, Melanie, what do you like?
So I'm pretty classic too. However, I always want to put some on it. Like, I want to put a brooch on it. Like, I want to put something that makes
these bubble sleeves. She wants
that makes
stuff
it
going down.
Makes it normal, like the LBD, but it's something that you wouldn't see. Like, so my mom always jokes, like when she is ironing my clothes or something, like, your clothes always have ruffles and frills and hanging pieces and all these things, because I always want it to be different than something that turns your, like, where did you get that? Or how did you do that? Or what happened with, how did you work that out? Like, I'm always thinking about it in terms of that. Yeah. So let's move to family. My mom married her high school sweetheart almost 40 years ago.
Well, we were married for 34 years, but we met in 1979. We started dating right in high school. I was a junior and he was a senior. Then he left and went, after he graduated in his senior year, he left and went to Southern Illinois University in Carbondale. For all of you all Carbondalites, he went down to SIU. And then a year later, I went to U of I in Urbana-Champaign. And so we had a continual relationship throughout. We would see each other when we could, or all the holidays, and we continued our relationship. Not once did we ever have the time where we quit each other. You know how we used to do it back then. We never had that time. We've always been together. So since January of 1979, I went on his prom. He went on my prom. I was at his graduation. He was at my graduation. When he graduated from college, I went to his graduation. When I graduated, he went to mine. It was during our college years then that he asked me to marry him. In fact, he gave me a ring that had both of our names on it. I'm not sure how big the stone was. It was quite tiny, but what impressed me is that he took the step to get our names on it. So on one side it had Michael, on the other side it had Annette, and then it had that stone. And he asked me to marry him while we were in college. And so immediately after I got out of University of Illinois and I graduated with my bachelor's in accounting, that July of 1985, we married. And not did I know that I would be having a beautiful baby girl coming 2 years later. I didn't know. God knew.
Mm-hmm. I always remember of Daddy telling us the story about how he knew he would marry my mom, like almost like days in, like a few days after he met her. And he said that he had a dream that he was going to marry my mom. And after he had that dream, nothing would be able to separate them.
And in fact, the dream that he had, he said that it was a vacant lot that was across the street from where he lived. And he said that we got married in that vacant lot. And so when he told me that story, I said to him, I'm not marrying anybody in a vacant lot. I'm going to marry somebody at a church. And so that was the start, really, of our journey. And he did. He told me that story. And that's really how he got my attention, by telling me that he had a dream about me. And so God has really blessed us all of those 40 years that we were together. And last August of 2019, he passed away. And truly, he was my heart. I loved him dearly and will forever, forever miss him.
So the challenge, well, what I learned is, of course, I'm not married. So I should have probably married a high school sweetheart, but that's not going to happen because we way past high school now. So Lord, just send a sweetheart, like in any way possible. But
not anyway, because we've got
not anyway.
Yeah,
send a sweetheart, Lord. But so one of the things that I always cherished about my parents' love is that it's really everlasting. Like when people talk, as Mom said, like we lost my father this past August, and it was completely devastating for us. But one of the joys that I have, even about my dad's life and about our journey, was that when you've been loved so deeply by a parent, by a loved one, when you know deep in their heart they loved you unconditionally, loved you beyond what they could do or give to you, just loved you to the core, you hold that love. That's everlasting. That lasts infinitely.
Absolutely.
It's something you can hold on to a lifetime. So the joy that I have every time I think about my father is that he loved me deeply, loved me regardless, always wanted to talk to me and not to my mama sometimes, wanted to compliment me and not my mama sometimes.
Absolutely. And I couldn't understand that. I couldn't understand that. Both of us would come down dressed up to the hilt, and he would say, Melanie, you look so beautiful. I got nothing. Nothing. No comments, no. Annette, wow, you are stunning. Nothing. I got nothing. But that's okay.
So one thing he said,
you
his wife
know
always look good. But he need to let me know on the special moments when I look good. I think the lesson, too, that I learned about the partnership of marriage and just the beauty that it brings is the birthing of children. And most of you know I am an only child. Thank God. Listen.
A spoiled one. That's what her friends keep telling her.
No.
Yes, they do.
It's not true. But
yes, they do.
I am an only child. And about 12, right in that, probably that 14, 15, 16, I realized I'm an only child. And I was like, Lord, now if they have another child, then I'm going to have to babysit during high school. And I just didn't look forward to that. So I prayed. I said, Lord, please don't let them have no more children. Jesus, don't let them have no more children. And you see, I'm an only child. So let me tell you, prayer works. Okay, whatever. Take it to the Lord in prayer. He can handle it.
Well, I prayed too because I was done. I didn't want any more. It's motherhood is wonderful, but you don't have to keep doing it to prove that you can be a mother.
So part of our narratives is talking about these generational gifts, right? And inheritances. Everybody knows that my dad was a pastor and was involved in the ministry. And soon after my mom became, when he moved into pastor, became a first lady. And soon after that, she became co-pastor. And then after that, after my dad's transition, she's moving into the pastorate of our church. So this portion is really about faith, right? What ties us, what makes us Rev Melanie and Pastor Annette is this kind of core in the sense of always being committed to building our faith, but also walking in our divine calling. So Mom, tell us what it was like to move from First Lady to co-pastor to pastor.
It was hard. Let me say, it has been a journey. Melanie and I have been talking these 8 weeks, and we keep saying we have had lifetimes, not just one. It's like 9 lives. We keep having these core moments in our lives, these pivotal points, and so God really had to take what was on the inside of us already, things that had been instilled by my mom, taking us to church, making sure that we had a connection with the Lord. And because of that, my faith was strong. Back when I was in college, I remember and recall a time when I had to ask the Lord to come in. I said, if you are really God, if you are really who you are, I'm about to flunk out of this school. And if you are real, I don't know if anybody else has ever been there, but if you are really God, if you are really the Lord that I've heard all my life, then I need you to show up. And I'll tell you, God showed up. I joined every missionary field, I joined all of the white groups because they were the ones who had the Bible studies, not the black groups. Oh. The white groups had the Bible studies. I joined the Jesus of Nazareth. I was trying to learn God, and I was trying to find a Savior because I needed him. And guess what? During that time, my life turned around. I learned scripture that I still repeat today. I probably say them over and over again, and nobody knows why those are the only ones I know. And they are because I learned them there. I learned them during those times because they helped feed my spirit and my soul. And so having that relationship with God and then moving into now becoming the First Lady, that was a transition. That was not something that I saw coming. I didn't even think that my husband really had that kind of faith in God. His father, though, was a pastor. And so I knew that he had an understanding of who God was. I wasn't sure if he was living the way God intended for him to live early on, but I found out that there was something in him. And so he was as I said about my mom, she was the perfect mom for me. He was the perfect husband for me. God knew my spiritual life. He knew where I would go and what I would need on this journey. And so everything was lined up step by step. So from First Lady to being co-pastor and moving into the role of the co-pastor was much easier because I was already there. I had his back when there was no one else to be present there to be there in order to support what he was doing. I was behind the scenes doing all the work. I was handling the ministries. I was ensuring that he had what he needed to make sure that he was taken care of because he was my husband. He was the Lord God had given unto me. He was my man. And so I wanted to make sure that he had what he needed. And because of that, God, it was a really a perfect fit. It was a really perfect marriage to the ministry with me being the co-pastor. And now in this role, going into being the pastor of the church, it was not something that I foresaw, even foreshadowed, coming up to this time. However, God knew. God knew what I needed, and he had given me the perfect spouse, the perfect pastor, the perfect spiritual father to help lead me to today, to where we are now. And because of that, I'm so grateful that God allowed Reverend Dr. Michael Jones to be part of my journey.
So we're talking about generational gifts. And I always boast about the fact that I'm a 3rd generation Baptist preacher. And that really means that it's literally in my blood in terms of my grandfather being a pastor, my dad being a pastor, my mom being a pastor, and then now myself. Now, I won't be a pastor. I'm clear about that. But I do know that...
Never say never.
I know that God has called me to preach and to live out God's call in in the world to preach and to teach, right? And to live out God's call in the world. And one of the things I think that helped me along my journey in terms of knowing my calling and walking my call, I've been preaching since I was 14, right? So this wasn't something new, but I had one of those amazing college experiences, much like my mom told me. There were a group of 6 of us we call ourselves the Joshua generation. I think I see some of them on here right now. But yeah, we were a group of 6 folks who came to Howard. We were all church folks who had been raised in the church or coming into God if we hadn't been raised in the church, and really coming into our calling. And because we kind of met, I mean, we were serious about God. Like we were fasting and praying like for 6 months on end. Like we were on the laying prostrate. We was no eating. I lost all kind of weight. Lord, take me back, Lord. But so we were just so fired up for God. And it was then where I always knew that I was called to the ministry, but I thought I'll do that, when I get older. Like I'll go to law school or do something like that. Then when ministry comes out, I'll add that on. And then I think at the end of my college years, I realized actually what you think will be behind you or on the side of what you've been called to is actually what's right in front of you, right? It's a part of what you've been called to. So after college, I had a few options, and it seemed like I remember my choice to go to Vanderbilt Divinity School was really because I never thought I would go to Nashville. Like I'm from Chicago. I'm Midwest, North. Like I'm from Chicago. What am I doing in the South?
Was loving the East Coast.
Loving the East Coast, living in D.C., I'm not going to the South, like to Nashville, right? And I remember, though, when I was a junior, my dad had took us to Nashville because he went to American Baptist College, ABC, and that was one of the colleges he attended, and so he had took us to Nashville my junior year. He walked around Vanderbilt's campus. He's like, it's such a nice campus. You're gonna love it. And I was like, I'm trying to go to Howard. So I didn't understand why he wanted us to walk around Vanderbilt. But I recalled that experience of walking around Vanderbilt. So when I came to tell him, I said, Dad, I've decided I'm going to Vanderbilt Divinity School.
It was the best day of his
life. So all I saw was tears falling. And he was like, listen, I literally walked that campus praying that my child would go to this school.
Wow, what a great legacy and a destiny where your father, your parent is actually calling into being what they want their child to be. That's a wonderful testimony.
So I grew up as a pastor's kid, a PK. I mean, I'm actually a pastor's kid on both sides. So I don't know if you get PK square or double PK or how that works, right?
But you weren't a bad PK. She wasn't a bad child. She just had a mouth during those 14, 15, 16 years old.
So I'm a PK, and people always ask me, was it because you were a PK that you felt that you were called to ministry? And I'm like, not exactly. I mean, it wasn't just because I was a PK. I remember talking to my dad. We had some of the amazing experiences when I was younger. He would pick me up for school, and we would go to White Castles. And I loved going to White Castles with my dad because my mom, even until like
Happy Meal,
until I was like 20, she was like,
no, that's not true.
Yeah.
No.
She was like, you get a Happy Meal. She would not let me get a value meal.
It was 12 because
whatever.
It was a children's.
I'm going to tell the story because it's the real story.
It was a children's Happy Meal.
Until I was like 20, she would not let me get a value meal. I had to get the Happy Meal or like the dollar menu, either one.
That's true.
So, but Dad, when he took me to the White Castle, it was milkshakes, it was cheese sticks, it was burgers, it was chicken rings, it was everything. You just had your time. I loved it. So I couldn't wait till he picked me up for school. So he would pick me up to school. We would go to the church. He would be in his office preparing for Wednesday night Bible study or preparing for Sunday sermon.
Because that's when we went to White Castle on Wednesday night.
Yes, he would have the worship music just going, and I mean, he was in his study, I was in the church working on homework, and that's where I became a worshiper, because that was where I heard the music flowing, and I just knew that not only was God real, but that God was speaking to me in many ways. So I asked my dad on one of those rides, I said, how did you know you were called? And he chuckled a little bit. And he told me his call narrative. He said this same kind of scenario happened to him in terms of he was asking his dad, how did you know you were called? And he said he couldn't even finish the question. He just started crying. And his dad said, boy, I know you called. And they just kind of went on their way. And it was like an affirmation of his ministry. My call narrative was a little bit different. I could not tell anybody that I knew I was called. I knew I was called, but it was too much for me to let out the words. So I remember Dad was preaching a sermon about getting your place, getting your rightful place.
Yes.
And all I did was walk to the pulpit because that was the place I knew I was supposed to be. And the whole church just fell out because we all knew that was the right time. So I really never said anything, but everybody knew, and it was affirmed by the whole congregation.
So perhaps you might not really.
No.
I was just gonna say maybe you haven't really been called.
I have professed my calling. I'm ordained.
Okay.
I professed my calling.
Okay.
But
you got ordained.
Yeah, I did.
You got ordained, and during the ordination, you had to profess. Why do you believe that God has called you to this? And you and Reverend Isaac both got ordained together. That was such a wonderful time to have you. I even remember Melanie's first trial sermon, or we call it her first sermon. She don't like the word trial. Her first sermon, and it was about blue bloods.
Well, it was if this cup could pass.
Yes.
And it was about when Jesus takes the cup of sacrifice and suffering. So it was like, if you could choose not to do this, that probably would be a good choice, right?
Yes.
This cup of suffering. But there's a way in which when God has called and assigned you to do something, it can't pass. But the question of what's in the cup, what did Jesus have in the cup? And it was really this experience of being connected to his Father and the mission that he had for his Father, which got us to this royal line, that this ministry was a part of my lineage on all of these sides of me. And I was drinking this royal blood, this blue blood, if you will, this cup of suffering that was passed down for years.
It was a dynamic message and fitting for the time. And we've got some new ministers now in our ministry. And I'm telling you, the word of God that's being preached by these young millennials are just phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Similar in the calling that Melanie had in that time when she first made her confession. They have similar stories to tell, in that it's a transformation, and it really is something that you've got to know that God has called you to, because as Minister Annette said, the weight of the calling, there is a heaviness in this calling. And I thank God for all of our newest ministers, Minister Annette and Minister Stephen Barrett and Minister Dennis Foster II, who is my nephew. And so God has continued now this lineage or this legacy through Pastor Jones, and he has touched so many, and made so many, or helped them to come into their own, into their calling. God called them, but all he did was help them to see their gifts, help them to see the calling that was on their lives. And I'm hoping that I'm following that same pattern in me being the pastor of South Suburban Missionary Baptist Church, that I'm helping those newest ministers to understand the calling that's on their life, and also to help teach them and guide them and nurture them so that they come into their own place.
So I guess we're talking about favorite sermons now, because my mom just told you about her favorite sermon of me, my favorite sermon of her. She didn't like this sermon, but I love it.
I liked it.
Well, she don't like me talking about this sermon, but I love this sermon. It was Judges, Deborah, the story of Deborah and as a judge. And the title of the sermon was Let's Get Ready to Rumble. And so I always remember this, but also what I love about this sermon is it talked about the prophetic ministry of women, right? Their prophecy, but also their ability to lead.
I think that's really why
I love that sermon. But she went all over the world preaching that sermon. And I really, to this day, that is still you might want to bring that back. Because that's a powerful sermon. So we've been thinking, we've come to a close in our time, and we've just been thinking about, what will we tell our younger selves? Like, if we could do this thing called life over again, how can we ensure that the next generation knows something better? Or what would we have told our younger selves? Mom, what would you have told your younger self?
One of the things, well, I got a few things that I would have told myself. One is not to be impatient. God knows the plans that he has for our lives, plans to prosper us and not to harm us, plans to give us hope and an expected end. That has resonated with me all through my life. And I know that if I had known that a whole lot earlier, I wouldn't have been impatient. I preached on today about how impatient Sarah was, and that she gave Hagar to be the wife or the mistress or the second wife to Abraham, and because she was impatient. I think we've got to really understand that having patience will help you to know that God has a plan for your life. And if God's got it, you don't have to worry about it. If he has it, you don't have to worry about it. The next thing, or the other thing that I would tell myself, is to save more. I thought I was a good saver. I thought I would save quite a bit, but I found on kind of midlife that my savings weren't enough. That there were things that came up in my life where I needed to have that pocket of finances in order to ensure that I could continue along the way. And although God has been good to me, I promise he has been good and he has blessed me, and I have not missed a mortgage. I haven't missed a payment yet. I haven't missed a car note. My lights have never been turned off. My gas has never been cut off. My water bill has always been paid. But yet I found that I had times where I was struggling and trying to figure out, how do I manage with the little that I have and not have enough to cover everything. And so anytime Melanie would come with her well wishes of, I want some new Jordans, one of the things and comments I would say to her, we got to pray about that. We got to pray about that. And it wasn't because I didn't have it to give. It was because I knew that was not something that she had a need for. It's something that was long lasting. And so I wanted to make sure that the resources that I had were put in the right places. And so we would pray about it. And she didn't like that phrase. And there were some things that I told her, I wouldn't buy that. I don't care whether you want it or not. My money is not going for that. And I do that even today. Well, and so
my problem is that you prayed about my things.
Yeah, I didn't have to pray about mine.
I didn't hear you pray.
Yeah, because I already knew about my things.
Okay. So what would I tell my younger self? What would you tell
your younger self?
Go with God. Like, I know we say that sometimes dismissively, right? But literally, God has a plan for you that you said earlier, and plans to prosper you. And I found that in my life, right, God has always moved me to new places, to new experiences, to meet new people, position me in new arenas, right? And that literally, I've been on a journey following God's call, right? And really following God's commandment, and trust the process, but also trust that God has the best intention for you, that God who began a good work in you will complete it until the end, that God sees your best, you in your best and your best life before you can even see it yourself. So why don't you just trust God, right?
Just trust God.
My second thing is listen to your mother. Listen, I tell my mom often, listen to your daughter. Listen to your mother, right? Whenever I'm away from my mom, I recall all the things that she will say to me. Or when I find myself in sticky or tough situations, I said, how will my mama handle this, right? Which gives me some assurance, not only of she has a different way of looking at things, but I trust her wisdom. I trust her guidance. I trust, even though I don't tell her all the time, I trust her word. I trust her because she has my best intention in mind at all times. So listen to your mother. Sometimes your mom has some of the best things to tell you. And often I found that when I resisted what my mama told me was often when I made some not so good decisions. And so listen to your mother is what I would tell my younger self.
Absolutely.
So we are full. We've had a full hour of conversation, dialogue. This is like mother,
like daughter.
And we thank you for joining us. Give us some feedback in the comment section. Let us know if you enjoyed the conversation. Let us know if we should do this again.
Yeah.
Just let us know. And please follow us at Rev Melanie J and at Pastor Annette J. She's still working on her whole social media package, but we're gonna get it together as the millennial helping the boomer. Okay.
Which is the final thought I think we can add is, what have I learned from my daughter? And I think the thing that has come out the most is trusting her in terms of her technology, in terms of, and even though she's never had a computer class, and I've had several, I trust the technology and her wisdom and how to get there, how to showcase myself, how to bring out the best through technology. And so that's the wisdom that I'm learning from my own daughter.
Thing I learned from my mom, and the wisdom that I always is, tap into your circle. Right? We always try to think about the people ahead of us, right? That some mentor, some person better or farther out, right, will be the person that actually help you to get through. And my mom always reminds you, no, there's some people around you who are right in your neighborhood, right in your vicinity, right in your circle that can actually push you to the next place that God has for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One other thing, well, maybe two other things, real quick. And I know
long-winded.
I know,
And
yeah,
we Baptist, so we're gonna have a few closes.
Yeah. So one of the things I really like about what Melanie does, and I don't know whether she got it from me. I'm going to say that she did, or whether she got it from her dad. I think she got it from me. But if they don't invite you to the table, guess what? Grab a seat and pull up to the table.
Yeah, Shirley Chisholm.
So you don't have to wait for somebody to make an invitation. If you've got something to say, grab your own seat and get to the table. I think that is important in this time, especially for African Americans, for us to understand as Black folks that we might not always be invited to the table, but when you get an opportunity to get to the table, get you a seat. And get up there and do your thing. Tell them what you know and be involved in the situation. You don't always have to wait for an invitation.
I think what I learned from my mom is don't be afraid to shine. Like,
absolutely,
have your moment, have your cake and eat it too. Don't be afraid to shine, and never let someone take away your light from you, right?
Yes.
Whether it is, sometimes I say, Mom, I think we overdress. She like, it don't matter what you wear. You always gonna be overdressed. You always gonna shine. So don't be afraid to shine. Walk in there proud, knowing who you are and whose you are.
Yes. And so we have really had a great time. We've enjoyed being with all of you all. We hope, again, that you will let us know if this is something that you would like to see again.
Happy Mother's Day again to all mothers, grandmothers, godmothers, other mothers, folks we know who have lost children, whether in utero or in their lifetime, and to all future mothers. Happy Mother's Day. We love you, and more importantly, we know that God loves you.
Amen.
Amen.